You are no longer needed, a high school grad. Delete all the data first and go home.
The new manager, who liked to brag about graduating from a prestigious university, was the worst, treating his employees like pawns. To meet his quota, he forced me to help with a $10 million deal. When I somehow managed to close the deal, he ordered me to delete all my data to take all the credit for himself.
There's no way anyone will believe a high school grad like you was involved in such a big contract. Just shut up and do what I say.
And so, I ended up deleting all the data related to that contract. Little did he know, that would eventually come back to haunt him. My name is John Smith. I'm currently working in sales at a regular company, but I had a tough childhood. Before I even started elementary school, my father passed away from illness. My mother raised me on her own. Though she was always cheerful, the fatigue eventually caught up with her. One day, right before my high school entrance exams, she collapsed from overwork. I had issues with tuition, but more than anything, I wanted to repay my mother for all she sacrificed for me, even at the expense of her own health. With that in mind, I decided to work instead of going to college. That said, there weren't many jobs available for a teenager like me. I wasn't in a position to be picky, so I did whatever I could, like delivering newspapers and directing traffic. I spent a long time at construction sites. Physical labor was tough, and in the beginning, I battled muscle pain every day. Even so, working hard and sweating felt rewarding, and interacting with many people taught me a lot, making it a fulfilling experience. I thought I could work there forever, but an accident injured my leg. While it didn't affect my daily life, I could no longer do physical labor. At 19, I started looking for a job and joined a company where I still work. Now I'm 40. I've been here for over 20 years, and it's a very comfortable company. Ordinarily, I should be in a decent position by now. However, there's a reason why I'm still an ordinary employee. It's because of my mom. After collapsing when I was in high school, she has largely recovered and looks much better. But she hasn't regained her previous health. She still gets exhausted just doing household chores. I can't leave her behind. So I continue to live at home and take care of her. If I took a higher position, I'd get a higher salary, but I'd also have to work longer hours. Thinking about losing time with my mom, I end up turning down offers for promotion. The company president understands my family situation. He told me I could get a promotion whenever I wanted, but I don't think that opportunity will come anytime soon. Besides, I feel that those who worked hard in school deserve promotion chances more than a high school dropout like me. Because of that, I easily yielded opportunities to my juniors. As a result, I'm the only one left among my peers in an ordinary position. Even so, I enjoyed sales, and I got paid for my efforts. So my salary was quite satisfactory. Therefore, I managed to live comfortably without a higher position. Especially since my direct supervisor, the department manager, understood my situation, I felt at ease. However, a significant change disrupted my life. The kind manager had to leave the company due to family circumstances, and a new manager was assigned from another branch. His name was Keith Richards. With thick glasses and a slim build, He looked like a typical academic and was 5 years younger than me, at 35.
My name is Keith Richards, and I'll be your new manager. I look forward to working with you.
Nice to meet you, Keith. From the first greeting, Keith kept staring at me curiously.
John, how old are you now?
I'm 40 this year. Is something wrong?
I just wanted to know what level my subordinates are at.
I couldn't believe he thought he could judge someone's level based on their age. Keith must have read my mind because he smirked.
Being a plain employee at your age must mean you're pretty incompetent. Normally, you'd have some sort of position by now. Haven't your peers already been promoted?
Yes, my peers have all received positions, but that comment is pretty harsh, don't you think?
Oh, sorry. It must sting when the truth hits home, LOL. As you get older, your tolerance drops too, so be careful.
Keith showed no remorse and even grinned more broadly. Adjusting his ill-fitting glasses, he continued.
Sorry, but I'm an elite from a prestigious university, so I can't understand the feelings of someone like you. Which college did you attend? If you tell me your GPA, I'll adjust the level of conversation.
I didn't go to college. I only have a high school diploma.
Oh, that explains it. No wonder you're a low-level employee.
He laughed dismissively and turned away, as if he'd lost interest in me. Then he waved his hand as if shooing away a bug.
I'm an elite, unlike you. Just try not to drag me down. I don't know what you can do, but if you're incompetent, I'll cut you off without mercy.
You don't have that authority. Please don't say such terrible things. I couldn't help but snap back. But Keith remained completely indifferent.
True, I don't have the authority to fire employees, but everyone has the right to take out the trash, right? It's the same thing.
With that, Keith turned his back on me. The thought of having to work under someone like him from day one made my stomach churn. And the anxiety I felt at that moment turned out to be all too accurate. Our sales quotas are set by the manager based on previous performance. So now, Keith would be setting them, and the quotas were brutally high. Everyone was assigned quotas based on their performance during peak season, leaving us all in despair. Since it was the slowest time of the year, even the smallest quotas were challenging. But Keith ignored that and set impossible targets.
If you're a professional, you should meet your quotas. There are plenty of ways. Think for yourselves and take action.
Keith refused to listen to us, causing everyone in the sales department to give up. No matter the quota level, if you don't meet it, you don't get your commission. With my base salary alone, I couldn't cover living expenses for my mom and me, so I decided to tackle the impossible quota. Others started working overtime because it was impossible to meet the quotas within regular hours. Our department, which used to start packing up on time, now had lights on until the last train because of Keith. I realized that my usual approach just won't cut it anymore. However, since I couldn't work overtime because of my mom, I gave up all my breaks, including lunch, to keep up with sales. Even when I was thirsty or sweating profusely, I didn't take a break. It was a harsh way to push myself. My old leg injury throbbed, but I didn't stop. Thanks to that, I somehow met the ridiculously tough quota. Most others didn't, and the department's morale plummeted. Seeing the results, Keith would surely reconsider the quotas. Everyone expected it, but that hope was naive. Instead of targeting the employees who didn't meet their targets, Keith turned his hostility toward me, the one who did.
You must think you're hot stuff just because you met your quota. You didn't even work overtime. Did you cheat? High school grads always have some monkey business up their sleeves.
But everyone in the department defended me against his accusations. Keith didn't know, but I had a proven track record of contributing to the company as a salesperson. Everyone who had seen my work vouched for my performance. However, Keith didn't want to hear that. He just wanted to see someone with a lower education than him suffer. So, the more people defended me, the more annoyed he became.
I see, you must be really something. Then you won't mind if I increase your quota. I'm expecting a lot from you.
Wait, I'm already at my limit with the current quota. I can't handle any more.
What? Are you making excuses? Or are you saying you can cheat 2 months in a row?
Keith, who had already decided I was incompetent, didn't hear my protests. My quota increased, and everyone else's remained just as harsh. Nobody even had the energy to complain anymore. I can't do this anymore, but I have to keep going for Mom's sake. Cornered, I felt the same drive to work hard as I did when I graduated from high school. I just wanted to earn enough to cover our living expenses. That was my only motivation. Since I couldn't work overtime, I started coming to work early in the morning. I would leave the house when the first train started running, finishing my cleaning and laundry in the middle of the night. This method of drastically cutting my sleep wasn't sustainable. Feeling like I couldn't last until the end of the month, I miraculously met the impossible quota in about 20 days. I can't do this anymore. I'm going to collapse. I have to stop the manager's madness. By now, I wasn't the only one in the department looking unwell. As the oldest in the group, I decided to directly negotiate with Keith about the future quotas. But when I approached him, he had an unusually troubled expression. When I asked what happened, Keith, annoyed, opened his mouth.
I'm stuck with a business deal. Don't interfere with my work, high school grad.
The usual confident air was gone, and he drummed his fingers on the desk, clicking his tongue. We all knew each other's quotas, and frankly, Keith's wasn't that difficult. It was about 2/3 of mine. But this month, he hadn't even reached that. He was panicking, fearing he would lose to me, a high school grad. May I ask which deal it is?
It's with Walker Corporation. Not that telling you will solve anything.
When he mentioned Walker Corporation, I thought of its president, Michael Walker. Michael is a bit older than me, around 45. He inherited a company his father built and is now the president. He's a muscular, imposing figure with a stern face that can make you freeze when he glares. His company is a valued client of ours, regularly bringing in large contracts that seem unbelievable. I glanced at the documents Keith had in his hands and was speechless. $1 million.
That's right. It's the kind of job suited for an elite like me. But that president, he's hard to deal with. He's just living off his parents' reputation. He had a look that suggested he wasn't very bright.
Clearly frustrated by the difficulties in the negotiations, Keith started bad-mouthing Michael. Knowing Michael well from handling many deals with him, I didn't appreciate Keith's comments. I tried to change the subject and blurted out, "If it's with Michael, maybe I can help. We've known each other for a long time, and he might listen to me."
What? You think I'll let you help me? Well, maybe lowlifes like you two will get along. Fine, you can help.
Instead of thanking me, Keith gave me orders in his usual condescending tone. With less than an hour until the end of the day, he dumped a mountain of paperwork on me.
Compile these into documents for tomorrow's meeting. You can leave after you finish.
"I can't finish this much work. I'll complete it by tomorrow morning. Can you extend the deadline?"
Then work overtime. You're always slacking off and going home early. It's pretty bold for someone with no education to expect to leave on time.
I tried to argue, but Keith ignored me and went on a smoke break. This amount of work would be impossible for me to finish in time. For the first time, I worked overtime that day. I called my mom to let her know, and she reassured me, but I was still worried sick. After preparing the documents, I accompanied Keith to the meeting. While Keith struggled, I took over the negotiations and secured the $1 million deal. Michael, who had been stone-faced with Keith, smiled brightly when talking with me.
"If you insist, I'll sign the contract. It's going to be busy, but I'm counting on you."
"Thank you. We'll do our best." We shook hands, and Keith tried to join in, but Michael only gave him a forced smile and didn't shake his hand. Instead, Michael turned to me with an apologetic look.
"Can we handle this contract through you, John? It's easier to communicate with you than with Keith."
What do you mean? If you have any complaints about me, say so.
"It's not a complaint. It's just easier dealing with John because we've known each other for a long time."
Keith reluctantly nodded, realizing that refusing might jeopardize the deal. The negotiations concluded with the agreement that I would be the main contact. Back at the office, I prepared the report and asked Keith to review it. When multiple people are involved in a deal, we have to write a report and submit it as a joint effort, as it affects everyone's quotas. Keith then said something outrageous.
This deal was just for your training. The credit goes to me alone.
"What are you talking about? I prepared the documents and handled most of the negotiations."
Be grateful I used you, idiot.
Keith then tore up my report.
You are no longer needed, a high school grad. Delete all the data first and go home.
I couldn't hold back my anger anymore. "Are you serious? You'll regret this."
Nobody will believe a high school grad like you had anything to do with such a big deal. Just shut up and do what I say.
Understood. In a tit-for-tat exchange, I deleted all the data related to the deal. Keith smiled contentedly, unaware that his actions were digging his own grave. I was too exasperated to argue anymore. "Any complaints now? Then, I'm taking a paid leave tomorrow, so please don't contact me if something comes up."
Sure, someone as useless as you can stay gone for all I care. Now get out of here.
Keith's mind was solely focused on the thrill of closing a $1 million deal. He had no idea that his downfall was imminent. The next morning, I was getting ready to go out with my mom. It was her birthday. I had taken the day off so we could go for a drive. Just as we were about to leave, My phone rang. I intended to call back later, but the incessant ringing forced me to answer.
Hello, it's Keith. What the hell are you doing playing around when the company's in crisis?
What? I told you I was taking a paid leave.
Do I care? Michael is furious because of you.
Just yesterday, the meeting had gone so well, I couldn't understand why Michael would be angry with me. I don't get it. What happened?
You deleted the data. Remember, there was an unread email from Michael in there. You knew that, right?
Apparently, after our deal, Michael had sent a confidential email to me. But because Keith pressured me to delete everything, I never saw it. I didn't know. You didn't give me time to check. Just ask him to resend it.
If that were possible, I wouldn't be calling you. That idiot president insists on only sending it to you. It's a dead end.
Michael had indeed focused all communication on me during our deal. He had a keen eye for people, likely seeing through Keith's condescending nature.
If anyone's at fault, it's you for not properly transferring the important data to me. This could cause major losses for the company. Are you okay with causing trouble for so many people?
His self-serving argument was infuriating. However, I knew that being stubborn now would only harm others besides Keith. The company president and Michael had always been good to me, and I didn't want my colleagues to suffer. After some deliberation, I decided to go to the office. I explained the situation to my mom, who had been looking forward to our outing. She looked a bit sad but quickly smiled. I'll call my uncle and let him know. Sorry about canceling the drive, but he'll keep you company. My uncle is my mom's brother, who lives nearby. I felt bad about canceling our plans to go for a drive today, but explained everything to him and rushed to the office. Panting, I arrived to find Keith standing red-faced by my desk.
You're late. Don't you realize the trouble you're causing?
Ignoring the presence of other employees, Keith dragged me to Michael's office. As soon as we arrived at Walker Corporation, we were led to the CEO's office. Michael was waiting, looking displeased with a furrowed brow.
I trusted you and signed a big contract, and you deleted confidential information without checking it.
I'm terribly sorry. It was my fault for not verifying it.
I was impressed, thinking Keith was finally owning up to his mistakes, but he continued with his head still down.
I did warn John verbally to check his emails. However, he ignored me and deleted everything right after.
What are you talking about? I couldn't help but speak out at the sudden fabrication. Ignoring me, Keith continued.
Furthermore, he didn't report the deletion until Michael contacted us. That's why our response was delayed.
Keith's acting was so convincing that I was left speechless. He was trying to pin all the blame on me, and Michael seemed slightly taken aback.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, but I find it hard to believe that John would do something like that. He's always been incredibly diligent in our dealings.
It's probably because he dislikes me and did it out of spite. As his superior, I have to guide him, but he might have resented that.
I don't think John is that petty.
Michael turned to me, frowning.
Keith says this, but what's the real story?
Keith wanted to take all the credit for the deal. He forced me to delete the data related to the negotiation, which included your email. I didn't have time to check it.
You're making this up. Don't you have any shame?
With the conflicting stories, Michael could only sigh deeply, his frown deepening.
By the way, John, weren't you supposed to be off today? Did you come in just for this?
Yes, I had plans with my mom, but I couldn't just leave things like this. Keith was wide-eyed, clearly surprised by my response that suggests a close connection with Michael. Given that he only knew our behavior during the negotiation, his reaction was understandable.
John, why are you so close with Michael? He's a major company CEO.
Before I could answer, Michael spoke up.
John and I go way back. When I was a bit of a rebel, we worked together in a factory.
That was over 20 years ago, so it's quite an old story now. We had met at a construction site where I worked before joining this company. At the time, Michael was reluctant to take over his family business. Overwhelmed by his parents' expectations, he ran away and lived on his own. We bonded over our shared struggles and became close friends despite the age gap. But those good times came to an end. Thinking about it made my old injury ache.
There was an accident at the site where some cargo fell, and I almost got caught in it. John saved me.
I felt a bit embarrassed by Michael's explanation. I still remember that day clearly. By some miracle, we both were unharmed, but the cargo fell on my leg. That injury made me leave the construction site and join my current company. It also prompted Michael to return home and take over the family business.
That's why he's still my best friend and my lifesaver. I told you from the beginning I wanted to handle this deal with John.
Michael wasn't keen on negotiating with Keith from the start. He didn't mention it because he knew Keith wouldn't listen.
But this time, he acted so selfishly. Can't you exclude him from future deals and work with me instead?
I understand your concern about this incident. However, both of you are telling different stories. I'll resend the email and be more careful next time. To avoid further issues, I'll continue working with John. We don't need you for this anymore.
Michael's words made Keith grit his teeth in frustration. Then, out of nowhere, he said,
I'd love to do that, but our CEO is already moving forward with John's dismissal. He'll be out of the company soon.
What? Is that true?
Michael's unexpected reaction made Keith straighten up. This was news to me too, and probably a lie. But Michael, angry, quickly made a call.
Hello, this is Michael from Walker Corporation. Sorry to bother you on your day off, but can I have a word with you?
While Michael was on the phone, Keith whispered to me,
Who is he calling?
I think he's calling our CEO. They have a good relationship.
What? No way.
Keith was visibly shaken. It was clear his earlier statement was a lie. Michael finished his call and sat heavily on the couch, looking furious.
The CEO is nearby and said he'd come over. You two wait here for him.
I have another meeting to attend. I need to leave soon.
Wait here.
Overpowered by Michael, Keith couldn't argue and stood frozen until the CEO arrived. Within 10 minutes, the CEO arrived.
Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm David Blaine, the CEO. I was spending time with my family, so I hope you don't mind if they join us.
Dressed in casual clothes, The CEO appeared with an elderly woman in a wheelchair.
Not at all. That's fine. Thank you for coming on your day off.
As Michael and I expressed sincere gratitude, Keith stared in disbelief at the unusual scene. Being called in on a day off and bringing a family member in a wheelchair was indeed surprising.
David, is that your wife?
No, it's my sister. We had plans today, but something urgent came up. We were waiting nearby, but I didn't expect such a delay.
The CEO gave me a playful smile. I smiled back and gave a small nod.
What's going on? You know the CEO too.
David is my uncle, and the woman in the wheelchair is my mother. We had planned to go for a drive today. I had asked David, my uncle and CEO, to look after my mother on short notice. He knew all about her condition. That's why, even though I'd turned down promotions many times, he always respected my decision. It's rare to find a company with such a good salary and the ability to leave on time. I couldn't thank the CEO enough.
So, Michael, what did you need to talk to me about?
Well, Keith told me that you were planning to fire John. Is that true?
Me? Fire John? That's ridiculous.
The CEO glared at Keith and answered in a quiet voice.
Keith, why did you say that? Why would you use my name without permission?
Well,
Keith began to sweat profusely, his face turning pale.
the thing is, this deal is worth $1 million. It's too much for someone like him with no credentials. Despite knowing his limitations, he refused to step aside. So, I might have made up a little story for the good of the company.
I see. So you acted on your own without knowing anything.
The CEO stared coldly at Keith, who was shrinking under the gaze.
John may have only graduated high school, but his experience is impressive. He has worked in various fields, is diligent, and holds many qualifications. I reviewed your resume too, and even on paper, he's more capable than you.
That can't be true. I graduated from a prestigious university. Obviously, I'm the better one.
Keith raised his voice, his pride wounded. Seeing this, the CEO continued.
John has worked his way up through hard work and remains humble. That's an admirable quality in any professional. Evaluation isn't something you do yourself, but it's about how others see you. Don't you agree?
The CEO questioned Keith, who could only open and close his mouth silently.
Lying to bring down a colleague, using education as a weapon. How did you expect to be respected?
David is right. People like you, Keith, lose their place when they lose trust. This incident is too serious, so it will be thoroughly investigated. Be prepared.
Cornered by the two CEOs, Keith could only nod. Later, company surveillance and employee testimonies revealed Keith's oppressive behavior and unreasonable quotas, leading to his demotion. Another person was appointed as manager. And with more stable quotas, the sales department's morale improved. Had things continued as they were, some employees would have likely left. Keith was demoted to a regular employee with a pay cut and was visibly dejected. He now struggled to meet his own quotas, despite previously boasting about his capabilities. Meanwhile, my contract with Michael was progressing smoothly. I rescheduled my time off and planned another trip with my mom. The work with Michael will wrap up soon, so we'll go after that. The $1 million deal brought in a significant commission. I was excited about making up for missing my mom's birthday with a luxurious trip. Keith, meanwhile, watched me with resentment from a distance. While I was praised by the company, Keith couldn't even meet his quotas. His pride shattered, he resorted to drastic measures. While preparing important documents for Michael, I placed them in a secure drawer and went to the restroom. When I returned, I found the drawer forcibly opened. Looking around, I saw Keith by the shredder, laughing as he destroyed the documents.
This will ruin the deal. It's not fair that I'm the only one suffering. A high school grad like you should always be beneath me.
Seeing Keith act so irrationally scared me, so I called security to have him removed. Since the documents were backed up, we could restore them easily. And the damage was minimal, but we couldn't overlook this incident. I reported it to the CEO, and it was decided to fire Keith.
I'm sorry you had to go through this. I hoped he would change, but it seems some people never learn.
He was too confident in his credentials to see his mistakes. I think he'll stay that way as long as he doesn't realize it himself. The long battle with Keith finally came to an end. I promised myself never to become an arrogant adult like him. Later, Keith was ordered to pay $30,000 in damages to the company for almost causing losses and for destroying office property. I also claimed $20,000 from him for the mental distress and the tampering with my documents. Keith resisted, but the lawyer Michael introduced was excellent, and we managed to settle with all terms in my favor. Keith, who once boasted about his prestigious education, couldn't find another job and ended up working part-time at a local corner store. Sometimes, I see him working the register on my way to the office. He often seems to be getting scolded by the student part-timers and looks quite diminished. I once worked at a corner store myself, so I know there's a lot to learn there. I'm sure he could find something new if he had a positive attitude. But whether Keith will realize that, I don't know. As for me, I managed to prepare the documents in time and successfully closed the $1 million deal. The company's performance improved, and we started getting more significant deals. Other employees also achieved good results, making the sales department more vibrant. I always appreciate being in an environment where everyone pushes each other to excel. Now that I have some free time, I can finally take my mom on that trip. These days, I'm discussing with her what souvenirs to bring back for David and Michael while we browse travel magazines together.